Picture two brothers sitting at opposite ends of a boardroom table, waiting on a single vote. By sundown, one of them would lose almost everything his father built. This isn't a movie plot. It's the true story behind a name that now sits atop one of the largest private companies on Earth. Long before that name meant billions, it meant something else entirely. A father for sons, and a slow-burning war over money that would outlast him by decades. It starts with Fred Koch, a chemical engineer who built an oil refining business in Wichita, Kansas, starting with almost nothing back in the 1920s. Big oil companies tried to crush him with lawsuits early on. Fred fought back for years, and somehow, against the odds, his company survived and grew. By the time Fred Koch died in 1967, his business was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and four sons stood ready to inherit it. Frederick, the eldest, loved theater and fine art. He wanted nothing to do with oil refineries, pipelines, or boardrooms full of engineers. Charles was different, sharp, disciplined, obsessed with business since he was young. Their father groomed him early to one day run everything. Then came the twins, David and Bill, born minutes apart, but wired completely differently. David stayed easygoing. Bill did not. Bill wanted real power. When Fred Koch died, his will split the company's shares among his sons. On paper, all four were now equal partners in a growing empire. In practice, only one brother held real control. Charles became chairman and chief executive, and every major decision ran through him alone. Bill owned stock, but owning stock and owning power turned out to be very different things. For over a decade, he had almost no say. He watched the company grow bigger every single year, run entirely on choices he never got to make, in a business that carried his name too. That resentment didn't explode right away. It simmered quietly for years, while Bill waited for a chance to finally claim the seat he felt he deserved. That chance came in 1980. Bill teamed up with his brother Frederick, and together they launched something audacious, a plan to seize control of the company. It played out like a corporate war rather than a family dispute. Lawyers, proxy votes, late-night meetings, the intensity of a full hostile takeover. Whoever won that vote would control a billion-dollar oil empire. Whoever lost might walk away with nothing but a famous name and a grudge. Tension filled the room the day the vote finally came. Years of buried resentment were about to be decided by a simple count of shares. Charles and David held firm together. The coup collapsed, and Bill and Frederick had lost. There was no pretending things could go back to normal. Holidays stopped happening. Phone calls stopped too. Where there had once been brothers, there were now four strangers sharing a surname and a grudge. By 1983, the split became permanent. Bill and Frederick agreed to sell their shares of Koch Industries back to the very company they tried to seize. The payout was enormous, hundreds of millions of dollars each. At the time, it looked like more money than anyone could spend in a lifetime. It wouldn't stay looking that way for long. The real value of what Bill had just sold was about to reveal itself, and it would wreck him. Over the following years, Koch Industries kept exploding in size, eventually becoming one of the largest privately held companies in the entire United States. Its value climbed into the tens of billions. Bill sat with a calculator and his old buyout papers, and the number he found made him furious. He became convinced his own brothers had deliberately hidden the company's true worth, lowballing him on purpose to buy his share for pennies on the dollar. So Bill did something almost nobody expects from a man who just walked away rich. He sued his own brothers, and he meant every single word. What followed became one of the longest, ugliest legal wars in American business history, a fight that dragged on for more than 15 exhausting years. Private letters, old family arguments, boardroom secrets, All of it got pulled into open court, read aloud by lawyers, printed for the world to see. But Bill wasn't only fighting with lawyers. While the case crawled through the courts, he was quietly building something entirely his own. He founded Oxbow Corporation, an energy company built around coal and natural gas, funded with the fortune his brothers assumed would be his last. Every dollar Oxbow made felt personal. Bill wanted to prove to himself and to his whole family that his wealth was earned, not simply handed down. Oxbow grew fast. Coal export terminals, energy trading desks, mining operations stretching across continents, built piece by piece, deal by deal. Within years, Oxbow was worth billions in its own right, a private empire built entirely outside his brother's shadow, on his own terms. It was never going to be Koch Industries. It didn't have to be. To Bill, every success was proof he never needed his brothers at all. And he still wasn't finished with them. Bill poured money into investigators, books, and journalists, all digging for ways to expose the company that cut him out. Relatives picked sides without meaning to. Some stood loyally behind Charles and David. Others quietly admired Bill for refusing to just walk away. Family funerals turned tense. Weddings had seating charts built around who wasn't speaking to whom. The lawsuit outlived friendships, outlived patience, outlived years. In 1998, after 15 years of fighting, the lawsuit finally ended in a settlement. The terms stayed sealed, but the number was reportedly enormous. The money closed the case. It never closed the wound. Some things, once broken between brothers, simply don't go back to the way they were. Fast forward, and Charles Koch stood atop one of the most powerful private companies on the planet, its name recognized across the entire world. Bill Koch stood somewhere else entirely. Wealthy, respected in his own industry, but forever known as the brother who took his family to court. He spent his new fortune in ways nobody quite expected. Rare wine by the thousands of bottles, racing yachts, and a growing obsession with the American Old West. He funded a winning America's Cup sailing team, and on his own ranch, he built an entire recreated frontier town, down to the last detail. Money bought him almost anything he wanted. It never bought back the one thing he seemed to want most: his own brother's trust and respect. Two men, same last name, same father, same inheritance, and two separate empires, built on opposite sides of a fight neither one ever truly won. Even now, the Koch name carries both stories at once: the empire that kept growing and the brother who spent a fortune trying to burn it down. Maybe that's the quiet lesson hiding underneath all that oil money, all those courtrooms, and all those lawyers' fees paid across 15 long years. A fortune can build a company from nothing. It can never rebuild a family once the trust between brothers is finally gone for good. If billion-dollar family wars like this one fascinate you, subscribe, because the next fortune we uncover might be even more brutal than this.